There's not a lot going on at the moment.
If you know, you know. And if you don't, you will by the end of this episode.
Welcome to Hits Different.
Lee hee hee. I'm Ryan and that's Molly. And today we're going to talk about the BTS videos that Taylor dropped and of course give you some clown dates to look out for.
Before we get to all of that, we've got to say a big thank you to everyone who subscribed to our channel. Our goal was 25,000 subscribers by the end of the Eras Tour, and you guys blew that out of the water. We crossed 25,000 going into the final night in Vancouver. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, what are you waiting for? Click that button right now. Also, so many of you have joined our Patreon so that you can watch the Eras Tour recaps. We did a video explaining why we had to move all of that content over to Patreon. That'll be linked to in the description of this episode, along with the link to our Patreon. We know a lot of you are going back and reliving your favorite Eras Tour shows because now that we are in this post-Eras Tour time, what do we even do with ourselves? This is the first time Ryan and I have recorded together since the Eras Tour ended. And, we just need to do a quick check-in. How's life post-Eras?
Well, since I left your house last week, I have been sick. I think those long nights, that final weekend of the Eras Tour really did me in. And so I've been literally spending it sleeping and working, which is not very fun. I actually wish I had more time to just relish in the Eras Tour memes, but I guess the sad and good thing about it being over is there's plenty of time for that. But I think I'm also in denial. It still feels like a fever dream that it's over, and it feels like just another one of those, like, she's on a month-long break. Especially around the holidays, kind of like last year. This is, I think, around the time she was on a break. And it was like, all right, Eras Tour is going to go away for a bit. We're going to have the holidays come back. I think I'm also still in denial as well.
Same. I think, like you said, she's been on these breaks before. So it's like, okay, this is our time as content creators to be able to have a little bit of a breather, catch up on life outside of the Eras Tour. But there was always the next show to look forward to eventually. And I feel like that hasn't fully set in yet, that it's not happening in a way. And then in another way, I have felt really, really sad because our weekends have been consumed by the Eras Tour. And it wasn't. Like, as we were going through the motions this past weekend, I'm like, no live stream. This is weird. And I found myself going back and watching a lot of our content from the Eras Tour over the last year, like rewatching our Edinburgh vlog, which is on our Patreon channel if you want to go rewatch that. And it's crazy because I think we've watched so many live streams at this point that for those of you who have gone to the shows in person, I'm curious if you feel this way too. You kind of like blur your memories of the show with memories from the live streams, and it all kind of blurs together. So it was kind of nice to go back and look at footage from when we were there in person and like, oh, that was our show. Like, that's what Taylor looked at us. That's getting me through right now, is reliving some of those memories.
I have had a few deja vu moments where I think it was like literally yesterday, I had a flashback of probably one of the last few weekends of the tour, like with the late start time, especially with the surprise songs, and being like, oh, gonna tune in for that, or I don't know. It was a weird, oh yeah, 2 weeks ago I was in this room doing this, and now that's over.
What?
I also was watching last night the Exile featuring The Crowd, and I was like, damn it.
Right?
So good. I mean, obviously I've seen it, but I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Especially since we had Exile in Edinburgh and we did not deliver as well as LA did. So.
Oh, see, I've been seeing people circulate the ones from Edinburgh.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just haven't seen it. I guess it's hard to really know when you're there versus watching it. I don't know if LA knew how epic they sounded. I've only seen the LA one. But yeah. Man, the surprise songs.
We were so lucky.
They live rent free in my head forever.
We want to know what all of you are feeling and thinking post Eras. How are you getting by? What do you have to look forward to? I feel like that's what clowning is really all about, which we're going to get to in a second. Is it gives you something to look forward to, even if it doesn't pan out. You still have something to keep yourself motivated and like something to be excited about. The one other thing that I wanted to note is that the last time that you and I were together, which was on our live stream post Eras tour, we talked about how we would relive some of our memories by recreating some memories. And we did that.
We took a poll, we pitched a few ideas, and recreating the Tolerated scene from the Eras Tour 1, which I love because that, if y'all don't already know, it's one of my favorite songs. I'm not going to lie, I feel like we crushed it, y'all. So if you want to check that out, we will have the links in our description below. It's on Instagram and TikTok. And really at this point, I am just trying to get Raphael to notice us. He is tagged. He's the dancer in the scene with Taylor during the tour. And I just want him to see it and be like, how'd we do?
Ryan did a great job masterminding this whole thing because while Alex and I were finishing editing the recap for Vancouver Night 3 that's posted on our Patreon, Ryan was setting the whole scene on our porch, our screened-in porch, like 11 o'clock at night, getting it all ready to go. We had 3 cameras going for this shoot so we could get it all in one take, and then she edited it beautifully. So you have to go watch it.
Yeah, multiple lights. It's funny because when we talk about Taylor's BTS videos in a second, I was telling Molly and Alex, I was like, should I add director to my LinkedIn? But like, I did technically direct, edit, and produce it. And it was very fun. Honestly, if Molly and I lived closer together, I would probably require it like at least monthly, if not like weekly, bi-weekly. So we have so many ideas. And I was like, oh my God, people really seem to respond well to this video because it's post Eras tour. We're all in our feelings. Tolerate It was ripped away from the set list a very long time ago. So it felt like a little like, oh yeah.
Right. That's been part of my reminiscing too, is just like how much the tour changed over 2 years. I feel like it's easy to forget because you get so caught up in the now of it all. Like we have Tortured Poets and we got Florida, and then you forget that going all the way back to the beginning of the Eras tour, we had Phoebe Bridgers and Time on stage with Taylor regularly. It's just, there's so much. So if you have not seen that yet, that clearly means you're not following us on Instagram or TikTok. So if you have either of those for your social media, we're at It Hits Diff Pod. We'll link to it in the description below the video. You have to go watch it and give us some love there because it turned out amazing. Okay, props to Ryan. All I had to do was look confused and sullen and like I couldn't even see what's right in front of me, and Ryan was doing all the dramatics. So
yeah, I tried to be my best Taylor, In the moment, I wasn't even realizing how important it was to like look dramatic and whatever, because there was so much to focus on, like just getting the moves right and the timing and stuff. And then when I watched it back, I was like, all right, cool. I'm glad I at least like kind of matched the energy on top of it. I wasn't just like chilling while doing this because it's like, it's an intense song.
Yeah, a couple people asked if I broke character at all while Ryan was, crawling around on the table, flinging stuff off the table. And I am proud to say that I didn't, because when we were blocking it and I did actually watch her, I was cracking up. But once we hit record, I made sure to never look at her directly so that I didn't start laughing.
Someone asked for bloopers and I was like, would you believe it if I told you there actually really weren't any? Because it was so cold, it was so late, and I was trying to be respectful of your neighbors. So like I wasn't trying to do multiple takes of me throwing shit off the table because I was like, all right, this is literally like a few take kind of thing.
Well, speaking of directing our own version of a music video for Taylor's birthday, she gave us a bunch of behind the scenes music videos as well as the Eras Tour archive site. I talked about this a little bit in my Tay cap on Friday, but we got BTS for Fortnite, which was an extra one. We'd already gotten one BTS video of Fortnite. I Can See You, Karma, Antihero, Bejeweled, and Cardigan. It was a total of 9 BTS videos, and I think they span 4 different albums. Crazy. I know it wasn't what we were expecting for her birthday, but I feel like it was a good reminder of how much Taylor has done in the last couple of years, and maybe her way of being like, look at this, entertain yourselves. Here you go. I'm resting.
Go watch some videos and be quiet. It's like putting us on the tablet. It's like, here you go. The Taylor Nation tweet on Friday being like, hey guys, check out the TS archives, which was repurposed from, it used to be the Eras Tour site that they had created. Now they like repurposed it for like post Eras Tour. And I watched all the videos, and even though, you know, some of us were clowning for something to be announced on her birthday, specifically like a documentary, the Eras Tour documentary. Not saying that it means anything, but it still felt like it meant something, right? Because like we got the BTS videos behind the scenes, whereas if we got the Eras Tour documentary, it'd be behind the scenes footage. So it was an interesting twist. It was like either she's trolling us, which is very possible and well deserved, or she's also like, you know, like, this isn't it, but you guys know you're getting a documentary. Also, if you think about it, like all those videos were, except for Fortnite, were from at least over a year ago for the most part, from when the original music video came out. And so, and my brain literally just thought of it as like she was giving us BTS videos from the vault. We never got. That's kind of what it felt like. I was like, BTS videos from what? And I was like, whoa, throwing it back? Midnight's
Right.
era, which, as Molly always reminds me, was not that long ago, but feels like a lifetime ago.
And all of those music videos were so intricate and had so many guests. So it was cool to revisit that. But this goes, she went all the way back to 4 years ago with the cardigan one. So before we move on to some of our favorite nuggets from these BTS videos, I have to get on my Swiftie soapbox for a second, because we debated even talking about this in the episode. But unfortunately, on the day that we are recording this, it started to make actual headlines. It moved from being kind of something that I was seeing on social media to being something that actually had headlines written about it. So I feel like we have to address it here. So in one of the Bejeweled BTS videos, because there were a couple that she shared with us, 3 total from that video. In one of those videos, Taylor's directing and her phone happens to be in her hand, and you see her lock screen of her iPhone. And like many people, her lock screen was of her and her partner at the time. Very normal thing to do. Put a photo that you like as your lock screen. For whatever reason, people really zoned in on this, and they were spreading the photo around and really making a point of it. Some people were calling it an Easter egg. And as of the day that we're recording this episode now, the video has been updated to blur her lock screen so that you can no longer see the photo. I just feel so sad and disappointed that this narrative got drawn out of the BTS videos. Taylor is clearly not in that relationship anymore. It was clearly a personal photo. She's moved on. She's in a new relationship. I don't know why we had to screenshot this and spread it, but clearly it's not something that they wanted us to focus on, and now it's been blurred. So I just feel like we all need to take this as a little lesson of it's okay, because Taylor has literally encouraged clowning about Easter eggs in music videos. That's okay. She intentionally plants it. In the Fortnite music video, BTS, she talks about how she planted the Us book as an Easter egg for her song with Gracie Abrams. There are things like that that we're going to look for. When it comes to speculating about her personal life, though, not her work and not her music, there is a line that needs to be drawn, and we all need to start respecting that a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, as someone who clowns the most, it's really disappointing that this whole incident is being even attached to the word Easter egg. It really disappoints me. And like kind of once again, you know, we've seen headlines like this in the past where it's like it takes something that Taylor has given us and made special to her fandom and kind of twisted it. Don't you dare call this an Easter egg. And because it's not, it's just a personal moment that accidentally was revealed in a video.
With all of that said, I think we've made this pretty clear in the past. We will try and keep reiterating it moving forward. We clown about Taylor's music. We speculate about dates for said music. This is, I feel like, also a good reminder. The reason that we clown about reptv and debut TV so much is because we know that we're getting these albums, right? She has been re-recording her entire discography. We're going to get them at some point, and it's fun to guess when it might happen. I hate to have to dip into a soapbox or a lecture of sorts, but I just feel like it needed to be said because it's starting to make headlines, and hopefully hopefully all of you who are watching, I feel like our community is so good about keeping the clowning about music and not speculating about Taylor's personal life. So let's just make sure we keep channeling that same energy. And let's talk about the things in the BTS that Taylor would have wanted us to focus on. Like, there were so many fun moments of her with her friends or with other actors and actresses that she brought on for these things, like seeing her with Jack or with the Haim sisters just goofing around. It's so cool to see. What were your favorite parts of any of the BTS videos?
I think my favorite moment was from the I Can See You video, not just Taylor Lautner doing his own stunts, which we knew because he's insane. Have you all seen Twilight? But when she was talking about being in the vault and like how she set up all of that, like I knew that it was a direct homage to like to the Speak Now era, but I don't think I knew like all the way down to the details of like the dress being the literal exact dress that she wore back during that tour. And I don't know, just like the little tiny details about that whole scene. Whereas like I knew, but I didn't know it was like literally down to the science. And it's like crazy how well she like mastered it. Like the hair, everything. It was
The
really,
13
really cool.
on the hand, the like writing on her
Yeah.
arms, and the tally marks on the wall
Mhm.
for how long she'd been locked away in the vault.
Right. That's probably my favorite music video we've gotten from the re-releases, which I know we haven't
Ooh.
gotten a ton, but RIP 1989. God. So we haven't gotten that many, but it's probably my favorite one for sure. All Too Well 10-minute version doesn't count.
That's a
'Cause
short film.
That's a short film. That's not a music video. So yeah, this would be my top one. It's just so fun.
Yeah, there were so many fun moments in each of these. And I think just my biggest takeaway is how cool it is to see Taylor directing and executing her own vision, because prior to the Lover era, she was not usually the director of her music videos. And that started around Lover, and then with her re-releases and obviously Midnights and Tortured Poets, Folklore, Evermore, any of the new albums she has been directing. And she has made a point to make a spot on her website too for directed projects. And there have been rumors that in the future she may be directing a feature film. So I feel like releasing the BTS, while it's cool for us as fans to just see the behind the scenes in general, it's also really cool to see her play a different role than how we usually see her on stage or singing her songs. Like, no, she takes charge behind the camera too.
Right. So it's like that could be an Easter egg in itself too, of like, hey, like I have this upcoming project. Here's an inside to the mind behind all of that. And yeah, it was cool seeing all the relationships and like feedback from the people she had in her videos, just being like, Taylor's amazing. She's such a brilliant director. It's like, of course she is, but it's just cool and validating to hear them say all that, especially because they're like some big names. And I can't even imagine like her vision trying to explain that to people, be like, okay,
Right?
so, and people were like, yeah, let's do it.
In the Karma one, when she's talking about the shot with ice and they're changing the plan on the fly, she's like, okay, so the cat is going to turn into the orb, which is going to then pan out to the wide of, and I'm like, there are so many music videos of hers that I have so many questions about because they're too over my head. Like, if there's little things we can pick out, but the concept as a whole, I'm like, I don't even know where she got half of this from. So to be in the room with her while she's peeling back those layers and like talking about that, I'm like, I would have to stop her and be like, but why is it going from the cat to the orb? Can you explain?
They don't question her. They're like, you got it. It probably must be so nice because I feel like Taylor might be like kind of a control freak like myself in that way. And it's like kind of nice when you finally have the power to be like, oh, okay, I'm the one calling the shots. I don't have to sit back and be like, would have been better if we did it this way.
Right.
Which I've been in that position before, past job.
I feel like with our experience and background in media and in production, that's part of what makes it so cool to see these little snippets, because the way she speaks to the crew and stuff, the positive reinforcement of like, okay, that was amazing. I just want to try one alt take with you doing it like this. If you've worked in production, you've worked with people who do not deliver things as kindly as that and who aren't like, wow, great take. They're like, gotta do it again, run it back. So just the positive energy that she brings and the decisiveness of knowing this is what I want, being able to keep that positive energy until they get what they're looking for. It's just, yeah, I was just like, It would be the dream to work with a director who has such a clear vision as Taylor clearly does about what she's trying to do.
Was it Laura Dern who also Taylor was like, yeah, like just keep riffing, like we'll just keep doing it until like you feel like you got it or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's not a thing. It's like she just takes the pressure off, like, you know, just do it and we'll just whatever. We'll just see which one's the best. So
right. And Laura went on a whole thing like at the end. They're all so good. So if you haven't watched them, make sure to go check them out. They're all on Taylor's YouTube channel and they're linked to from the Eras Tour archive site. All right, now it's time. I know you're not going to put the clown wig on per se, but I do have this still.
I have my notes, which if anyone watched the live stream, I shared a little bit about my crazy notebook. So in fashion, here's the notes for today's clowning session.
Since we did not get an announcement for Reputation Taylor's version or Taylor Swift Taylor's version, Ryan, what do you think is going to happen?
All right, so shocking, but my notes include a lot of numbers, which is really hard to do visually or audibly. But we're going to keep it succinct. All right. So if you guys don't know, Evermore just had a birthday, which is Molly's birthday as well. And Taylor Nation tweeted on Evermore's birthday. They tweeted many things, but the thing that stuck out in my brain, they tweeted an old photo of Taylor where when she wrote the caption, "Not a lot going on at the moment."
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this, Molly?
Oh, I remember.
Not the original, but do you remember when they tweeted this? Like
I remember both.
Both, right.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, back during 2020, during the chaos that was inevitably Folklore and Evermore, which we didn't know because it was 2020 and a lot was going on, Taylor gave us these Easter eggs 2 different times where she posted a photo and captioned it, "Not a lot going on at the moment." She did it before Folklore back in, I have the dates because that is semi-relevant to this. She did it for Folklore on April 27th. And then about 13-ish weeks later, we got Folklore. The date was 4/27, right? April 27th. If you write that backwards, it's 7/24, which is when we got Folklore. So she plugged in a little Easter egg that we obviously didn't know. And that was about 12 weeks and 4 days later from the selfie saying not a lot going on at the moment. She just shook the world and said, by the way, here's Folklore.
And for those of you who don't know, she announced Folklore and dropped it in like the same day. She announced it on a Thursday morning. It came out that night.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
It was wild times. It was wild times. It was perfectly matched to the year that was 2020. Later that year, on November 22nd, we get another post from Taylor. It's her in a cabin. It's a black and white photo. It's her looking very, Evermore-ish, even though we don't know it yet. And we get the caption again saying, "Not a lot going on at the moment." And we're like, Taylor, we just got Folklore. Like, what are you talking about? And of course, now we're on high alert. So then this is where it all ties into my clowning date. 3 weeks later, after she posted that, we got Evermore, or 2 weeks and 5 days. So the first time, the distance between her post and Folklore was 12 weeks and 4 days. This one, she shortened it immensely, and it was 2 weeks and 5 days. And if you look at the date, 11/22 is when she posted Not a Lot Going On at the Moment. We got it on 12/11. So this time she shuffled the numbers around. 11/22, shuffle them around, you get 12/11. So again, these are intentional, these were real, these are facts, okay? This is what had happened, okay? So all that being said, when Taylor Nation posted on Evermore's birthday that throwback photo of Evermore, which makes sense, right? That is what we got before we knew Evermore was coming alive, whatever. But when they posted and said, and almost 3 weeks later, Evermore was born. If you want to do some Swifty math, 2 weeks. So, oh my God, I just realized this. Breaking news, guys. Okay, so I love when the math be mathin'. So, I said the time between the Folklore, like the post and the actual album and the Evermore, whatever, was 12 weeks and 4 days. Then it was 2 weeks and 5 days. This time, if we're clowning for New Year's Eve, it would be 2 weeks and 6 days, which is a double meaning because 6 is rep. And I just said it was 4 days, 5 days, and now it's 6 days. Molly's not following.
I mean, I'm following you. That specific part of your theory, I'm lukewarm on. What I'm here for is the 3 weeks.
Yeah, the point is they said 3 weeks. Yes, I get lost in the details.
Yes.
I'm sorry. The 456. The 456 is a fun note. Okay, you guys, come on.
What I am here for and agree with is that it's very sus that they brought that back. They didn't need to do that. They could have just brought back the post from when Evermore dropped. But for whatever reason, they pointed us, oh, remember when we hinted at something and then 3 weeks later you got an album? Well, what was 3 weeks after Taylor's birthday? New Year's Eve.
Molly, well, they posted this on December 11th. And so what's crazy is, again, the math between December 11th and New Year's Eve is 2 weeks and 6 days, which is important to note. It's not 3 weeks. It's 1 day shy. And their tweet said, and almost 3 weeks later, Evermore was born. Almost. Like, it's not exactly 3 weeks because that doesn't make sense. And you want to know what else?
What else?
Oh, well, New Year's Eve is on a Tuesday, so that's irrelevant. Okay. Because I know she drops everything on a Thursday night, but whatever. We won't get into those semantics. Okay, guys, that is irrelevant. So I'm like, if you were to take 12/11 when Taylor Nation posted all of this, technically you could pull 1/1 out of there. I mean, that's me reaching, but class dismissed.
The other important things to note about New Year's for Ryan's theory is that there's a track on Reputation. The closing track is called New Year's Day. She sang that on the final night in Vancouver. I mentioned this in my Friday Tay Cap, that Long Live and New Year's Day, which was part of her mashup on closing night, was actually a mashup that she sang every night on the Reputation Stadium tour. And the final note is that the Reputation Stadium tour hit Netflix on New Year's Day originally.
That's right. I knew I had one more like crazy New Year's. Yeah. Do I think we're getting Reputation on New Year's Eve? Yes. But I mean, do I really? I don't know. But it just ties into my theory, which I've talked about for so freaking long, about like there will be no explanation, there will just be a Reputation. What more suitable than like this New Year's Day tie-in? Like, I don't know.
It'd be cool.
I feel like it all makes sense. And I just thought when Taylor Nation tweeted that, I mean, granted, they have been messing with us for so long. So long. So it could just be them messing around, but we pick up on the words. Everything's intentional. And the fact that they said almost, blah, 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 the 456, et cetera, I don't know.
Well, while I can see your points, and while I was one of the biggest clowns for thinking Taylor would announce Rep and debut on the Eras Tour for the sole symbolism of owning all of her work by the time the Eras Tour ended, once that final bow happened and Taylor walked off that stage and there was no announcement, I came to the realization that a lot of other people had already come to months prior, which was
Interrational Molly. I hate this part because it's always
I'm
true.
Sorry. I hate this part right here. Yeah, when the reality hits. And the reality is, what did we say? If Taylor could get a birthday wish in our Q&A episode, what would Taylor wish for? And what would it be? We both said those awards, those Grammys for tortured poets. What might matter more to Taylor than owning her work? Breaking records, winning awards. I love this about her. She has never once pretended that awards don't matter to her. A lot of artists will be out there like, oh, I'm just don't really care. No, Taylor's like, I care.
I interrupt this rationale update by just saying that while of course I would love for her to just be like, oh, and just drop it, my clown dates often, in this case especially, I'm just thinking of an announcement. It teeters between the two. Obviously in my head, I visualize it as it happening and the drop, but knowing the reality of it, like you said, the awards, all that stuff, I'm like a medium. I'm seeing a February release date for Rep, an announcement, New Year's Eve,
what you're getting.
Why not?
I did think that she could have announced it on the Eras Tour and dropped post Grammys and that it wouldn't have stepped on Tortured Poets. But I have to think that the only reason she didn't do it that way is because she thinks it would step on Tortured Poets. And so therefore there will be no announcement until after the Grammys cycle is over.
No
Because
announcement?
no announcement, because Tortured Poets is still charting so well because of the anthology release on vinyl and CD over the week of Thanksgiving, and just in general, it's charting so well. And she's not going to want to slow that momentum down. The second she announces something else, people are going to start streaming the old albums. They will.
Which is funny because I literally just had that thought where I was like, so obviously not everyone's as crazy as you and I, especially me. But forever ago, Molly actually inspired me, even though she doesn't take her own advice, to like, you know, when we would get the re-release announcement and like be in the window, it'd be like, all right, stop listening to the OG one because A, screw you, Scooter Braun, and B, like we want to like have it fresh. Like we want the next time we hear it. So I haven't been listening to rep in a minute. Like, yeah, girl, I heard Don't Blame Me on an edit the other day, and I wanted to put Don't Blame Me on so bad. And I know we've gotten it through the Eras Tour, so to be fair, it has been satiated. So in my head, I was like, oh, like it won't take away from Tortured Poets. Like people will know that rep's coming and then they'll stop listening to it. But then you're like, people are not like that.
No.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. And my rule, by the way, was exactly what you just said. Once we get the announcement date, we cut ourselves off. You cut yourself off long before the announcement date.
I know.
I never agreed to that. I try not to listen to rep or debut for the most part, but there are some days where I just need rep.
I can't. It's like my own weird version of Lent.
It's like once every 3-ish months or so. And if that's the case, I try to play the vinyl because then I already have it. So
yeah,
I'm not giving Scooter any money. Now, I do not think she will announce or release any of the re-records before the Grammys so that Tortured Poets has its fair shot at those awards. She has a lot of competition this year. Last year with Midnights, I felt really confident going into a lot of categories. This year was a great year of music. And I think she's just going to be very careful about not dimming her own shine to compete with herself against other things, even though they wouldn't be in this Grammy cycle. The point is just the hype. Like she doesn't want the hype to move on to promoting another album.
Well, if this is all true, then January is going to be bleak. Okay, what are we going to do? Like, how many tolerated videos can we make? God.
The last thing to note, though, is that the thing that's been haunting us for years now, the whole Exile Ends Easter egg from Bejeweled music video was either 2-3 or 3-2, because it goes from a 3 to a 2. And the Grammys are on February 2nd.
Which is
we
sus.
thought Exile was going to end after the last Grammys based on all the Easter eggs leading up to that day. What if somehow Taylor was predicting this years in advance, which, by the way, I don't even think she could plan this far, for the record. Like at the time that she is doing the Bejeweled music video.
She's like, gonna crush. So with that in mind, years from now.
But she has said, could I plan things 3 years in advance? Bejeweled was filmed in the fall probably of 2022, somewhere around there. She could have already known the Grammys date for 2025. She did say she started writing Tortured Poets right after she turned in Midnights. So maybe she really was planning 3 years in advance, and we have been playing the short game. The long game was Exile Ends on February 3rd of 2025.
Do they know the dates that far out?
I think so.
That's what I want to know. Step one. It's like when she announced Midnights at the VMAs and was like, yeah, because you guys, like, because she won Video of the Year during the VMAs, and that's when she announced Midnights. It made me think when it was happening, I was like, what if you didn't win this? And like, obviously they know in advance, but still, like, not that far. And so I always remember being like, what if you didn't win Video of the Year? Then when would we get Midnights? So maybe it is a situation where she's like, you know, ideally this would tee up perfectly with Exile Ends. If I clean house at the Grammys, there will be no explanation. There will be just reputation at midnight, but which she will. So I'm not even worried about it. But
yeah, I don't think she would even drop anything around then, nor do I think she would make an announcement at the Grammys like she did last year, because I don't think it landed well with the people in the room.
Afterwards.
Right. But like maybe then the next day, that Monday, she's like, all right, here's the plan. That's all I'm saying.
Exile
I just don't think anything's going to happen until after the Grammys at this point, and I'm sticking with that. So,
Molly, come on. After New Year's Day, I will be on the same train. But because we didn't get the documentary for her birthday, maybe that's when we're getting it.
They need more time to turn that around, though.
No, it's like people had said, like, because they've been filming for so long, it's possible that they literally have been like working on it. And then the final shots that last night, it's like just, you know how it is. If it's like pretty much done, you just plug in a few shots. I can't speak for the Eras Tour movie. That's going to take some time, but who knows? I don't know. As the clown dates, come and go, it's like, wow, that all made so much sense. And now we're going to be looking at a dry January.
Dry January. For real, for real.
Right? My New Year's resolution is to get Rep TV in my life during my lifetime.
Speaking of New Year's resolutions, at the end of 2023, looking ahead to 2024, we made predictions for the year. We also made predictions going into the final leg of the Eras Tour. And our next episode is going to be our year in review, which we will get to laugh at ourselves for some of the predictions that we made. We'll see what we got right, what we got wrong, and then we will be making predictions for 2025.
Which, as you can tell, we have no freaking clue. Post Eras Tour, I feel like I know even less. I knew nothing even with the Eras Tour. Now I'm like, I don't know, dude. Though, like, anything could happen. Just going back and like talking about the folklore and Evermore stuff, you're like, dude, you just don't know.
Yeah, how can a person know everything at 18 and nothing at 22? That's how it feels right now. How could we have known so much just a couple of weeks ago and nothing now?
Dude.
It's all part of her plan. It is.
Looking at 2025, we also have a lot of fun content coming up. If any of you guys have watched our Tay Therapy series, we're going to have a lot more of that. You guys sent us some voicemails and some amazing messages, and we really want to dive into that stuff now that we have some more downtime without the Eras Tour. And it sounds like January is going to be pretty bleak, so don't worry, guys. We have you covered.
We'll add the info in the description for how you can leave us a voice message or how you can send in your written submissions for Tay Therapy. So make sure to do that before the end of the year. And we'll have all kinds of more content for you guys in 2025 as well. Don't worry. We got you covered.
We have our own surprises, just like Taylor. You just never know what's going to happen.
And one more time, thank you to all of our subscribers here on YouTube, to everyone who joined the Patreon. We are so grateful for all of you who have gone with us on this journey. And if you want to go watch that tolerated video, it's at It Hits Diff Pod on Instagram and TikTok.
It's worth it.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.